my second life. The joysticks in my hand, I'm unstoppable. High score secrets, I've got them all unlocked. Memories rush back like a time machine. Take me back to the arcade, where I spent my younger days. In the black lights glowing on a pocket full of tokens. Dance and groove to the beat. On the pixelated screen we meet. New wave melodies playing loud. Lost in the arcade, my heart is found. Hair and red fashion, we were all quite excited. Popping tokens in the cabinet, it's the thrill of the fight. We save the world through pixelated dreams. We're the greatest generation with unfaded acid genes. Take me back to the arcade, where I spent my younger days. In the black lights glowing on a pocket full of tokens. Dance and move to the beat. On the pixelated screen we meet. New wave melodies playing loud. Lost in the arcade, my heart is found. Jelly bracelets popping, teeth, hair oh so high.
Hi, welcome to our second annual Week of AI. I'm Amanda Fox, and I'm thrilled to be your host as we navigate this fascinating intersection of technology and learning. Before we dive into this exciting session, I'd love to know where everyone's tuning in from, so feel free to drop your location in the chat. I see we have Holly Clark who's joining us. We've got Heather Brown. Dustin Remy, which I told you I'll send you swag if you're my official commentator for this week. We've got Alex from New Jersey. We've got an EduGuardian in the house, Bobby. Let's see. We've got someone from Florida, Regine. And we have Argentina in the house. So this year we're kicking off the Week of AI with a new type of session, Student Town Hall, where the voices of our future, students aged 8 to 18, take center stage. I thought it was personally important to start with a student perspective to remind us our why, because their why empowers us as teachers to make sure that we're leveraging technologies and that we have our sights on not just the future, but their future. So together, we're going to unravel the complexities of AI through their eyes and explore the transformative power in our classroom. But before we get started, I want to take a minute to thank Swivel. They are our platinum sponsor. Sarah Candela, Brian Lamb, thank you for making this possible and keeping this event free for everyone to attend. And without further ado, Alana, I want to introduce Alana Winnick. She resides in New York City. She wears multiple hats as the Educational Technology Director and Data Protection Officer for Pocantico. Is that correct?
Pocanico. No one pronounces it correct, so it's not just everyone. It's hard.
Okay, so making me feel better. So in the Hudson Valley, director for the New York State Association for Computers and Technology in Education. And with her expertise in childhood education, educational technology, and leadership, she's also the author of the Generative Age, Artificial Intelligence and the Future of Education book, and host of the Generative Age platform delving into the evolving world of generative AI and its educational impact.
Well, thank you. And you know, it's a fun fact. My last guest was actually Holly Clark, who's at next keynote. So that's pretty exciting. So let me just introduce myself. Thank you, Amanda, for introducing me and for allowing us to really kick off this conference. I think they all thanked you before, but what do you say to Amanda?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
So I am the director of technology at Pocanico with these 8 and 9-year-olds, and we do have some other students from across the country as well, and they'll introduce themselves in a minute. But really, I believe that at our core, it's our job as educators to really prepare them for their future. And that's our why, like Amanda said, and everything that I always do goes back to them. And I'm really thankful that we get to be here and start the week off with our why. So while we do that, we're just going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. There's Josiah. Josiah, you just hopped on. Wanna start and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi there, everybody. Nice to meet you. I'm Josiah. I'm located here in Florida, and I'm super pumped to be able to speak on this platform alongside my colleagues and partners. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Soham. I'm an 11th grader, and I'm based out of New Jersey, and I'm really excited as well to contribute to this conversation today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amia, and I'm a 9th grader at Ridge High School in New Jersey as well. And I'm really excited to be part of this opportunity today.
Hi everyone, I'm Gwenna,
What grade are you in?
and I'm in 3rd grade.
Hi, I'm Kent Kajimura, and
Just go ahead.
so
What grade are
and I am in 3rd grade and here at Potantico.
Hi, I'm Ipsa, and I am in 3rd grade, and I'm really pumped to be here.
And where are we, guys?
We're in Canco.
Where's that?
New York.
New York.
Okay.
Westchester.
Okay, so we are in New York. So here at Botanico, I really believe that it's so important to empower both our teachers and our students to advocate for change. I've actually only presented one time at one faculty meeting about AI. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know if I muted. So I've actually only presented one time because I really strongly believe that we should hear from the voices of our students and teachers. And that's exactly what we are doing today. So I'm really going to try to talk as little as possible and really let them do most of the talking. So I'm going to start off with Amia. And Amia, why don't you tell them how we all got to where we are today, like how this all got started?
So I actually first met with Miss Winnick on a webinar that my former 8th grade teacher had set up for us. And after that, I sent her an email and I asked her, can I be on your podcast? Because as you all know, she has a podcast. And I told her, I know you usually interview experts on your podcast, but I think that teachers and educators really need to hear from the student perspective on AI use. And when she emailed me back, she said that she had another student reach out to her too. And she actually helped us come together to start a new project, which we'll talk about later. So the panelists that you see up here have been working on something really exciting that we're going to share with you. But first, I'm going to pass it on to Josiah to start us off on a conversation about AI in education.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Amia. And again, welcome to everybody who's joining. I did see from Miss Helena Marie Stevens, she said, good afternoon from St. Croix. That is where my family is from. So, of course, definitely representing all across the world. But I think in order to start off this conversation that we're going to have for the next few moments, it's important to acknowledge the fact that AI in the classroom, in education, and in society as a whole is not going anywhere. So it's something that it requires for us to be able to sit down and come together like we're doing today, hearing from diverse perspectives to understand how we can embrace and implement this technology. And for me, I forgot to mention that I'm a graduating senior. My graduation is next Wednesday. And so over the past 12 years, being able to see a lot of the different paradigm shifts that have happened in education and understanding that with every new technology, with every new tool that comes into the classroom, we have to take a moment to consider the cost and figure out how are we going to be able to utilize it. So what we consider to be somewhat of an elephant in the room is the inevitability of AI. And so in the classroom, we know that you all as educators understand and realize the importance of academic integrity and the standards of excellence in which students are supposed to perform at. And so bringing ChatGPT and other, AI tools in the classroom, as we've seen and as some of us have also experienced, it can be a valuable resource for both students and teachers. Here at my school here in West Palm Beach, we have teachers who have successfully used other, generative AI tools in terms of creating lesson plans, creating different activities for students, and also allowing us as students to be able to use some of those tools in a way that doesn't take away the uniqueness of our work, that doesn't take away the integrity of us coming up with concepts, but rather using it as a tool that allows us to make our work better. And as one of my English teachers put it, it's not so much about taking the technologies in the classroom and using it to create something for yourself, but it's taking what you've already created and seeing how AI and these other tools can help to improve what you do and maybe even show you what you can do better. And that's something that you'll hear a bit more about from everyone here on the panel. And so, just as we get ready to kick off this conversation with everyone that's here, just to keep in mind, for those who may be a little apprehensive to using AI in the classroom, or maybe you are gung-ho and you're trying to figure out how can you convince maybe your leadership or those around you in the community. It is our hope and aiming goal that by the end of this conversation that you have some nuggets that you can take back, but most importantly, the perspective of students, being that we are the ones that are going to be impacted by it, from the 8-year-olds that are here to Soham and Amia, who will still be in high school next year, and even for me, starting off my first year in college. So with that, I'm going to toss it to our amazing panel of 8-year-olds over in New York, and they'll take it from there.
Okay, so first I'm going to ask you guys. Okay. You could unmute. People think that elementary schoolers cannot use AI. Do you believe that?
No.
What would you tell those people?
They can.
Just because we're younger doesn't mean that we can't do things that they're able to do.
Okay, so Kent, first, why don't you start us off and tell us what is AI?
AI stands for artificial intelligence. It's kind of like human intelligence, but it's made by a computer. So yeah.
And do you think that AI helps you with your writing?
Yes, it helps us become a better writer by this thing, actually a cool thing called prompting. It is putting in text in AI and making the AI give us actually a picture, a photo, a drawing, any of the
And you
stuff.
use that fancy word before the G.
Generate.
Yeah, generates
Yeah,
it.
and
right?
yeah,
And how does it make our writing better? You have to be more what?
specific.
So what happens if you're not specific?
It's gonna be like a story is gonna get a little short and it's gonna get a little boring. You know, like
you have to make it more interesting.
Yep.
And how do you do that?
By being more specific.
Yeah. Okay. So if anyone has questions for these students, please put them in the chat. We are going to answer all your questions, so please put them in the chat. All right. Next up, Gwenna. So can you tell us about one of your jobs? We have 2 jobs when we use AI in our class. What's your first job? To be a what?
A detective.
And when we're a detective, what are we looking for?
We're looking for credible sources. If there's any non-credible sources, we should take it out because they could be giving us wrong information.
And we always have to look for that, right?
Yeah.
One of them's like Wikipedia.
Wikipedia doesn't work well.
Yeah. So, how about you, Ipsa? Can you start us off by telling us what is plagiarism?
So plagiarism really is when you're using something else's words,
Yes.
and like you're pretending it's yours. And I think our teacher's on. She's the one that taught us all that.
Yeah. So, what's our second job as an AI user after being a detective?
After being a detective, we have to take the words we want out and
What's that called? We gave it a fun name.
remixing.
Yeah. So we're DJs and we remix, right?
Yeah, so we take all the words that we like out, and then we like change it to our own words.
So we take a little. So we discussed this when we were. If you're a DJ and you just took someone else's music, is that stealing their work?
Yeah.
Only if
But if
only if you say that it's yours.
Yeah, you
Right.
need to remix it.
so, you could use someone else's work if you said it was not yours and you gave them credit, Kent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But-
if we could use AI work if we say it's AI work.
Yeah. Also, so we DJ remixed like the Detective Names That's one, and then also we remixed. So we had these poems, and we had to like take the poems and put it into a prompt, and we got photos, and then we also like changed it a little with like what we want in the photo, and then we got the photo we wanted.
And then another question going back to creative writing. Do you think that sometimes the images that AI gives us helps us become more creative writers?
Probably.
Why do you think that?
Because if you look at it and then you could put more things to the poem.
So you use your images as inspiration to
Yeah,
go
so,
back
like,
and edit
it
your
helped
poems?
us, and then we like
You'd put in
mixed
the
up all words.
pictures.
Like, so the pictures gave us, okay, so it's giving me this. Now we know what the AI knows and doesn't know. Like the cute.
Cute is
And-
not descriptive because they don't get it. Like it's someone's opinion.
Yeah. So she actually made a picture of a cute kitten, and was it cute to you?
No,
It wasn't. What word did you have to change to make it what you wanted it to be?
real, and I needed to take out the word cute.
And you put in
Photographic.
Yeah, photograph. And then it gave her a cartoon, and she wasn't really looking for a cartoon, right? You wanted a real, like a photograph. The real word didn't work, and the photograph worked.
Yep.
Also, just if you're going to be at ISTE, their poems that they just talked about are going to be in the camp. So definitely come check it out. It's called Shine Like a Diamond. And also another lesson that we did with them, debugging creativity, is going to be at ISTE also. So if you're there, come check out their work.
Yep.
And now we're going to pass it off to Soham.
Thanks so much, Miss Winnick, for getting us started. I want to talk specifically about the difference between academic integrity and full-on cheating in the use of AI, because there is this murky gray area, right? Like what degree of doing work is classified as fully okay and what degree of doing work is classified as fully not okay. And we've mentioned a lot of the benefits of using AI tools in the previous two panelists, but I want to specifically focus on this idea that it's hard to create a one-size-fit-all approach to AI policy in the classroom, because every single discipline, every class, every subject has different guidelines, different kinds of assignments, different kinds of questions, and different kinds of work that a student is trying to do. And that causes each class to have unique skills that a student is trying to learn. For example, in my math class, I will be learning different skills when it comes to problem solving, learning how to create and solve math assignments, think logically, versus research assignments, maybe in my history class where I'm writing, learning how to create an argument. There are very different skills you learn in different classes. So when we think about creating AI guidelines for those classes, well, a one-size-fit-all approach, a blanket statement, would never really work. And here, I want to urge all of you as educators to come up with a definition of completed work. Because unfortunately, we live in an age where so many students have access to other technology, whether that be generative AI, whether that be Grammarly and spell check, whether that be any kind of outside help. And unfortunately, it's hard to keep a student to only doing a certain set of work. And that's why, as a teacher, defining what completed work is, what enough work a student needs to complete that constitutes that they completed the assignment, is extremely important, because that allows a student to have an understanding of what is okay and what is not okay in that particular class. And that speaks on the importance of communication, especially for AI guidelines, because I know personally a teacher might only communicate their stance on AI policy in a particular class once in the entire year. And unfortunately, that is not enough when it comes to students and when it comes to older students in particular. It's extremely important that there is a high level of communication of what tools a student can use and what tools a student cannot use. And through that communication, through relationships between teachers and students, that allows for better use of AI to actually improve learning instead of just hindering students' growth and students' future potential. So once again, just to summarize what I've mentioned, there is a gray area between cheating and between academic integrity, and it's up to each of you as educators in each of your classes to personally define where the line is between academic integrity and where cheating is. And that should be done on a case-by-case basis. I'm going to pass it off to Amia now to continue from the student perspective.
Thank you, Soham. So let me start by saying that I know that as teachers and educators, you or some of your colleagues might be scared of students losing the thinking part of their learning process by using AI to think for them. And I know that in general, teachers are afraid to use AI in the classroom because they think that students are going to make AI do all the work for them and cheat, like Soham was saying. But let me propose a solution to this. If teachers use the learning process to assess the learning of their students, it ensures that students can use AI as a tool without this cheating component of it. And this, we call it process over product. Because in this example, students can submit their work to the teachers step by step, and then the teachers can actually see the ideas that the students are generating themselves, which promotes creativity. And then in that case, students can kind of bounce off ideas with AI in order to actually enhance their creativity. And then they can intertwine their personal voice with AI outputs. Because after all, writing is all about your personal voice, because AI can write. Of course, AI can write. But for us to become better writers, we need to embrace AI, and we need to use AI to help us write with our personal voice to the best that we can make it. But then there's also another problem, and this problem is motivation. Because if a student is motivated to cheat, they might just use it to cheat. That's still always going to be there. But the thing is, if students want to cheat, they're going to figure out a way to do it in anything, whether it's just in a math test or in a history essay test, like anything. If they really have that motivation to cheat and they don't want to do the work, they're going to find a way to do it. For example, if a student is given an assignment to write an essay, they could have someone else, like a parent or a tutor or even a friend, write that essay for them. And no one says anything because who knows? So using this process over product idea helps with this too. And the point is, AI is here and it's not going away. So students have to learn to harness it as a tool. So now, how do we address this motivation issue? Well, assignments need to be catered to the students so that they're motivated and they actually want to learn, because that's the point of school. It's to help students grow and to help them find their interests so that they can use those interests to help them later in their life to be happy and to find a job that they actually enjoy. And so what could examples of these assignments be? Well, maybe teachers could kind of incorporate more of debates or public speaking into their curriculum, because instead of just essays every week, every lesson, writing an essay, students would instead benefit from maybe doing some research, and then instead of directly going into writing an essay, go into some of these interactive activities, debates or public speaking, that help them kind of get their ideas out. And then when they finally go in to write, they can use AI to help them instead of just using it to just come out with that final product, instead of kind of having this whole process that teachers are able to assess. So the bottom line is, the purpose of school is for students to learn all the skills they need for when they get older, for when they go to college, when they work. And AI is big in the real world. And like I said before, it's not going away. So if students don't learn to use AI in school, and then they're just thrown into the real world where everyone is using AI, what's going to happen? AI needs to be taught, and used as a tool in classrooms to enhance learning. Now I'm going to pass it off to Josiah to talk more about students advocating for change in regards to AI. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks again, Amia, for everything that you said. And I know a lot of messages started popping up in the chat, so a lot of people agree with what you said. And so, just bringing all of this together, and now that you've been presented a couple of different tracks, if you will, of information, now it all leads back to this central idea of access. And one thing that has always intrigued me in terms of the rollout of AI and the mass use of AI is that anyone can have access to it. It's just as simple as finding a software that you want to use, finding an application, and the possibilities are endless. And so understanding that leads us to the realization that it is, quite frankly, inequitable to not share AI in the classroom. And more than anything else, it's putting students at a disadvantage because you have students who are getting mainly the access to most of the tools that they can leverage in their future in their educational settings, whether that's in third grade, in 11th grade, and 12th grade, regardless of where you may find yourself. As you hear a lot of individuals who are in their 30s and 40s and even older talking about some of the tools that they had access to when they were in high school, or maybe it was what they didn't have, and being able to be introduced to the reality of possibility. And so being able to have access not only just to artificial intelligence, but also other innovative technologies in the classroom is what is going to set aside education through instruction with a teacher and self-educating, or for me, I call myself a recent graduate of YouTube University. And so if you have access and resource in everywhere but the classroom, as Amia alluded to, as Soham talked about, as the third graders pointed to, if students aren't finding what they need, if their intellectual desires, if you will, are not being met in the classroom, then they will go elsewhere to find it. And so that is why we are advocating here today for the increased use and implementation of AI in the classroom, because our classroom should be a reflection of what we value in society: access, innovation, information, and the list goes on and on. And so that's definitely one thing that we want you all to keep in mind as you're listening to what we're talking about, and as hopefully you delve into the rest of Week of AI and all of the great conversations and information that's to be distributed, because we are all stakeholders of this mission. We are all relevant individuals who have a say and also have a bit of skin in the game to say, this is what we're going to do. And it's not just happening here in South Florida. It's not just happening in New York or New Jersey. It's happening all across the country. And so, again, we're just so grateful to have this opportunity to share this on a national, even international platform, to advocate for equity and inclusion of these technologies in the classroom. So with all of that, I meant to mention it earlier when I first started off, but Soham did have a very special thing that he wanted to announce. So I'm going to hand it over to him so that he can give that special announcement.
Thanks so much, Josiah. So we, as a group of students and Miss Winnick and educators, are excited to introduce Students for Innovation, a community that we are trying to built out of students and teachers who are interested and excited in pursuing educational innovation. That's key because our goals are to provide students with the knowledge and skills to have discussions about innovation in their schools. And we want to champion the new approaches in education, facilitate skill building, and enhance networking and empowerment opportunities for new students. That's really important because, especially right now on our website, studentsforinnovation.org, we have already started working on comprehensive resources designed to equip students for the skills that they need to effectively advocate for change, because we as students truly believe that some of the best changes made in education are made by students. And if you're interested in contributing or even having more conversations, you can visit our website at studentsforinnovation.org. And we really hope to see you all as educators join our growing network, because we're really, really excited to collaborate with more passionate individuals who are committed to transforming education, just like all of you.
And we are looking for new students, just like Josiah, Amia, and Soham, to join the larger organization as well, because hopefully we'll get a lot more. We're making a lot more content, and there'll be a lot more speaking opportunities. And I know the three of them would love to do all of them, but they are also very, very busy. And I'm sure if you know your rockstar students, please, we're looking for some more. And I just want to say that Holly's hopping off, but or are you? I don't know if you are. I just saw your name pop up. She's offered to be a mentor. So I do have some other people have offered to be mentors. Matt Miller said he'd help with the Shades of Grey video that Soham's working on. I know that's his jam, and Ken Shelton's agreed to be a mentor. So there's some pretty great mentors that have already agreed to be a part of this. So I'm really excited to launch this with this incredible group of students. Oh yeah, Holly, I didn't know if you jumped off. I thought you said something about your session. I'm trying to multitask. So this is the end of our formal presentation that we've prepared, but we have a lot of time for questions. And why don't you put your questions in the chat that you have for the students, and the older students will skim through. I did see one for my third graders, so I'm going to go ahead and ask them now. They want to know what tools you use, what AI tools you use in the classroom. We're going to say one each.
We use Canva.
And we use Perplexity, which is something that's kind of like OpenAI, ChatGPT, Copilot, and all those other stuff.
And we use Padlet, which helps us with a lot of schoolwork actually. And we used it for like our podcasts. We did those on video. And so we put in prompts. We added some like whatever we wanted, and like what, and we clicked this I can't draw button.
Yep.
And Gwenna actually, she was doing something about Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And she got a Harry Potter one because she had to put the prompt in.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like Perplexity, because Perplexity is a little different. Yeah.
Also, okay, just to clarify with the Students for Innovation thing, so there's two ways to get involved. One is to join the larger organization, but another way is just to start like a Students for Innovation. I guess I don't want to call it a club, because that doesn't give it it doesn't give it justice, but like a program in your school. So that you could do that with elementary students if you'd like. So they need a mentor teacher, and we're going to provide toolkits, modules and toolkits to help give them the knowledge and skills that they need. And I can imagine, I was talking to your teacher before, like you guys, like Ipsa's class job is, can you tell me about your job in class, Ipsa?
My job in class is tech support. So me and one of my friends, Nathan, we both have the job. And we both have to, so we help with all the tech stuff. So if there's a problem, we have to fix it. And like we
also do educational technology, not just fixing things that are broken, right?
Yeah, we also like help with the board, and like we help get kids into some things, and like also sometimes we present like this is how you do it.
Yeah,
and
they present.
Yeah,
One of them taught the class how to use Excel.
That's
Yeah. My mother uses Excel a lot.
My dad.
Okay, so let's see if the big kids have any questions they want to answer.
I know there was one general question that popped up maybe about 10, 15 minutes ago from Mr. Remy. He was asking, and I know Amia, Soham, we can all bounce off of this one. He asked, have you gotten in trouble, his quotations, for using AI with a teacher who is not a fan? Did they listen to your arguments in favor of using? Did you help them see your logic? Do you all want to touch on that first?
Yeah, I can start off. So I've encountered a lot of resistance, especially from English teachers, and rightfully so. A lot of these teachers I've had personal conversations with are also not big fans of tools like Grammarly or previous technology tools, and they've found that the biggest problem with AI is not that the student will use it responsibly, is that the entire process of creating arguments will be automated away, and students will stop thinking for themselves. And Amia touched on this earlier, but there are a few solutions that I think a lot of teachers have adopted. One is that process over product mentality, where using a generative AI tool can help a teacher actually see how you're communicating your argument and thought as you would in a conversational tone to a chatbot. I've had an assignment that I was able to convince my teacher to give us an assignment where the entire project we could only use ChatGPT, and the final project and product could only be submitted through a ChatGPT link. And the only way to create your entire project was to effectively communicate your idea and argumentation. And that's an example of working on process over product. But at the same time, I think there is still a place for assessing students specifically without AI, because it is important for a student to be able to think and create their own arguments without any external tools. So assessments like in-class writes, I do think are still very valuable, especially for high school students, when you're trying to understand what a student is actually able to do without any crutches.
Yeah, so just like Soham was saying, I have encountered a lot of teachers. A lot of my teachers have given us these assignments and they're like, go home, write this essay. You know you can't use AI. If you use ChatGPT, you're getting a 0 on this assignment. Like, we're reporting you, that's it. Like, you're going off of National Honor Society, that's everything. Like, you're done. But a lot of times, like, I think that the most important part is that when you're using AI, you know how to use it responsibly, and you have to be taught that in schools. And I agree with Soham. A lot of these in-class assignments are valuable, but when you go home and when you're given to write, that's your time to learn how to use these tools that you're learning in school in the real world. And saying that you can't use AI is like saying that, oh, when you're in the real world, you can't use a calculator for like doing anything that's relating to the bank. Like, you can't pull out your phone, you can't get on the calculator to add things. It's just like saying that when you're in the real world, you're not allowed to use AI, which is not true. So, like, I think that when we're talking to our teachers, the most important part is to explain the aspect of going into the real world with this education. The whole point of education is to get those skills. And so when we're in the real world, we need AI. And that's a really important part of this convincing aspect, because I know that's one of the hardest parts as for us as students, especially because we're so passionate about being allowed to use AI in schools. And so when we go up to a teacher, I've done this before, and then some of them are on my side immediately, and then we can work together and try to kind of etch away at the other teachers who are a little bit more resistant. And it takes time, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, no, I definitely said the same thing. I guess we can address that question too. I was just going to say, I know Soham threw out the fact it's mainly the English teachers that are a bit apprehensive about this. Mr. Bricker said this was the same thing we had in a different conversation, talking about graphing calculators and how certain exams now it's like you can only use a 4-function calculator. But my English teacher in the first quarter of school was like really anti AI. He ended up having like an entire lesson on media literacy, which ended up stirring up the class. And I ended up having a conversation with him afterwards and kind of explaining the merits and saying, hey, even though it was really more of a philosophy course. So definitely a high emphasis on thinking as an AP literature and composition class. But we had a great conversation, and I ended up getting his wheels turning, just talking about, the merits of the fact that we're going to have to use it outside of school. And you have such an emphasis on, the Socratic thought and different methods that we can use and incorporate in class. And so it turned into what Soham described in a slightly different way, but us being able to use um, ChatGPT in a bit of a sandbox kind of way. We were given very specific instructions on what to do. That ended up, after our teacher saw the results of what happened and seeing how students were able to really take the reins of their learning, he ended up signing up to go to a 3-day long AI and education conference. Don't remember the name, but and ever since then, now we've been gradually introducing it, and he's also brought it to the dean of our English department to be able to introduce on a more widespread platform. So it's, like Amia said, it's showing the possibilities that are available when you at least give it an attempt, and you may not figure it out the first time. Let's see. Soham, was there another question that popped up that we were going to talk about?
Yeah, the question that popped up earlier was, have you used generative AI outside of schoolwork? How do you think these skills will help you with your futures? And I will say, the way I think about generative AI tools is, and the way I use generative AI tools outside of any kind of environment, and school environment in particular, is as a transformational tool rather than a generative tool. And I find that to be really helpful, especially when you're doing any kind of work. Is I personally will never generate content from scratch with any kind of LLM, any kind of generative AI tool. Instead, I will do my own critical thinking. I will write my own short form content. I will have my notes already prepped, and I will only be using generative AI to textually transform that content into another form that is better. And I'll give you an example that's very simple. Is long form notes. So I've written a few blog posts for my own personal interests. And if I have a 5-page manuscript that I want to figure out how to cut down, I'm not going to have ChatGPT cut it down for me or generate new content for me. Instead, I will ask it to provide meaningful advice on how I might do that. So instead of treating a tool like GPT and LLM as the arbiter of my situation, I treat it more as an individual who will give me advice, who will help me become a better writer, and that I find that to be extremely helpful, especially in my own process.
Yeah, just going off of that really quick, I agree with Soham because, like, I know that my personal writing voice is really important in my writing because that's what makes my writing unique, and that's what makes me like my writing and makes me feel accomplished when I'm reading what I wrote. And so when I'm writing outside of school, I do feel a lot freer because I get to use this AI to kind of bounce my ideas off of, to refine my ideas, to make it a lot easier for me to gather my thoughts. And then that gives me this like power to enhance my creativity and start writing. And then once I do that, I'm in the process of writing. And then if I ever have any like ideas that I want to bounce off of AI, I can do that. And it just feels like I have this person that I can almost talk to, it's like almost like peer editing, peer revising. I have this chat bot that I can talk to and get ideas off of while I still enhance my own writing and I still have my voice in my writing, which is what makes it my own writing.
And also, I just saw a text message in the chat, and I know you were late. Soham did cover it a bit about policies, and we didn't. I'll let him talk about it a bit, but I actually just created. I haven't released it yet. I'm going to release it today for you. So if you find me on social media, you'll see it. I just showed them what I made in Canva. What do you guys think of it?
It's really cool. It's really cool. It's kind of like
So I made an acronym for a class set of rules, and I know I showed it to Amanda Fox. She got a sneak peek last week. And I really, at my own district, I'm just going to say I tried to stay out of it and let the kids speak. You missed what so mad today to say. I'll pass it back to him in a second. But as an administrator, I don't want to create district-specific policies because I really want to give my teachers ownership over what they're doing in their classrooms, because it will vary obviously from district to district, building to building, teacher to teacher, assignment to assignment. So to give the teachers the real freedom, like their teacher uses it all the time, and I don't want to take that opportunity away from her. Would you guys like that? If I said no AI, or if I made rules for AI?
That wouldn't be fair.
That would
'cause
be-
we use AI for like
Yeah, it's
a
like-
lot of our projects.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
but
do
if-
use it.
But
for,
you
like,
looked at my
everything.
rules that I made before. Do you think those rules are fair?
Yep.
Yes.
So I basically tell them, I'll give you it in a nutshell. It's that my rules, and I'm not going to ruin the acronym, but it's basically they can only use district approved sources. They need to check for bias and misinformation. They need to remix, and they need to follow assignment guidelines. So that's a really important one, the assignment guidelines, because that's giving my teachers ownership. And I'm going to let Soham take it from there on the ownership, because he did a really great job with that one.
Yeah, just to piggyback off Miss Winnick, unfortunately, yeah, you're right. Many districts do not share this policy. But what we as a group from Students Innovation hope to empower and hope to achieve is that individual teachers can create their own policy to the effect of each assignment in their class can have different AI use, can have different effects. And that's really important because every teacher will have a different sensitivity level in the discussion between what's academic integrity and what's cheating. And if you throw a blanket onto everybody and say, oh, you all have to follow this exact line between the two, then it can antagonize some teachers. It can antagonize students. It can make a school an unhealthy environment. And we think by empowering teachers to have their own agency in this conversation, they will and you will create assignments that actually help students learn while preparing students for the real world. And that can only happen by specific assignment guidelines and a non-existent overarching AI policy, because what we need is individual assignment by assignment, class by class guidelines for teachers to actually understand how this technology works. And I want to mention one thing. I'm sorry. There was a mention of GPT 4.0, which launched today by OpenAI. And one more reason for the assignment by assignment guidelines is teachers and individuals are a lot faster with updating their own policies than a district may be. And with the current speed of technology, it makes a lot more sense for individuals to push the boundaries of AI assignment guidelines rather than have one overarching statement.
And so I'm going to ask these third graders a question. Are you allowed to use AI all the time?
No, actually, in some assignments. So, like, we had the state test, and for the ELA practices, we had to. So we had the stories, and then the stories we
But
had
even
this
with the
on the
non-state
other
test,
one.
just like your projects. So
Yeah,
some
like
projects, are
some
you
projects,
allowed?
like
What
what
projects they allowed?
mostly the state test time we didn't use it, but like on our projects, like right now,
Yeah.
like we have a few that we don't use AI. Like like sometimes we use the video project. We didn't really like use AI, and like we don't always.
Different ways, right?
Like,
Sometimes.
yeah, like in Canva, we used it to help us with something like magic. It was called Magicpedia, and it's prompting, and we used it to help us get podcast logos, and we used Sway also to help us put everything.
But your
in
teacher tells
exact-
you when you
Yes,
use it and
yeah.
how.
Yes,
So
the,
when
like
and
the
how.
DJ remixing, she told us like this is how you do it, and now you can do it. So like she has to show us.
And she'll
for
say
the
this
yeah.
assignment it's okay, and this is how you can use it.
Yes,
and this
so
assignment it's not okay.
like if you're doing like something like use AI to help you make a story, that's the one that she's gonna tell us to use, and the other one she's probably gonna say not if. So the other one would probably be like thoughts, like write down your thoughts, and that's gonna be not use AI.
So also, so there's this thing called a reading coach,
reading code.
which we use, and there's a section called make the or I don't
Use AI to help make your story.
Yeah, like we
Well,
get to pick a character
yeah.
Yeah, so that's
and a
that's AI too.
setting, and
But
then
basically,
like
the
the
moral of the
story.
story is we're allowed to use it sometimes.
Yeah, so like
and our
we
teacher
use
tells us how.
we use
Okay. So
Um,
yeah, so Dustin, I have this whole acronym that I'll share with you about how to be an AI DJ and you have to remix your content. That if you rewind, you'll hear them say that.
I saw a comment about healthy skepticism, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I kind of like the analogy of a toy. Because when we're like young kids and we get a new toy, the first maybe 2 to 3 days we have that toy, we're obsessed with it. We're like with it 24/7. We don't want to let go of it. And I kind of think that AI is like that because after a few weeks, we kind of start using that toy a little bit less and a little bit less until we just like having it. And so AI is kind of like that because at the beginning, I know for me in 8th grade, when I first started using it, I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like, this is completely new. Like, I could do anything with this. And then I was using AI to do all these different things. And I was like, almost like I could just do all my assignments with this. And I was like, well, is that right? And I was going back and forth about it. And I was at first really obsessed with it. But then after that, I started kind of like using it in more moderation. And then I feel like it's really important for students to start using it in school because when they first are exposed to it, they'll go crazy with it. But then after that, they themselves have to realize that, well, what am I getting out of using it for everything with like cheating with it? I'm not getting anything out of it. I know that I need to learn and I want to use AI to help me learn. So I think that that's why it's so important to introduce students to AI during school so that they are exposed to this and they have that experience now so that when they go into the real world, they know what that healthy skepticism is. Like I think Mrs. Wallace was saying, that healthy skepticism, and that's really important.
Yeah.
Sire, why do you also tell them what Harrison mentioned last time about how your school is all really about creativity and how you think it enhances like I feel like that's a really good thing to showcase.
Yeah. So I attend, well, Harrison and I, who's not here right now, but we attend Alexander W. Dreyfus School of the Arts. It's a mouthful here in West Palm Beach, Florida. And so we are a performing arts magnet high school. It's all audition based, which includes students from every sector of our county here in Palm Beach County. And we consistently rank as one of the top 1% of high schools in the nation. And so with all of that, and there's a lot of pressure being that the students here, we have 6 different art areas with 11 programs all together. So between communication arts, dance, visual arts, digital media, then you have band, vocal, strings, piano, theater, and then there's 3 more programs underneath those. It's a lot of students who are all here for 4 years looking to enhance their creative expression. And so you have a range of students, of skill sets, of interest, of motivation and drive. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what keeps us together is our emphasis on being able to grow. And so you have students like myself and Harrison who are communication arts majors. So Harrison studies film and TV production. I do TV production and debate. And you have students here who also, study in visual arts, study in digital media. And there are tools that we have access to that typical high schoolers don't have access to. But in terms of using generative AI technologies, I know it was mentioned somewhere back in the chat talking about AP art history and how there are a lot of different courses that are not as willing and accepting of using AI in the classroom. So it's been very interesting for us as communication majors being able to incorporate AI into the work that we do. Harrison had shared in a previous conversation about how for a film that he was making, how he was able to use AI to enhance what he had given it. He was working on a storyboard for a film project that he was getting together, and he had his treatment, he had his log line, he had most of the details, that he took from his head and just wrote it out. And he wasn't exactly sure how he could tie everything together. So being able to use ChatGPT and put in what he got, he was able to not only create a more complete um, outline for his film, but it was also clear enough where he was able to hand that off to another student. And one of the aiming goals in pre-production that we try to do in our film program is make it as clear as possible. So if we were to hand it off to another student, if we were to hand it off to a totally different team, they are able to take that and run with it. And so it's opportunities like that where, our range of creativity is expansive, yet it's still limited. And so looking at the tools that we use, I just saw it pop up in the chat again in terms of the different tools that are being embedded in the work that we do. You look at all of the stuff that Google has rolled out, and there's generative AI that's incorporated there. You use Grammarly, it's there. Here at Dreyfus, we use the Adobe Creative Suite, and there it is on screen. There's generative fill technologies that take your work in a prompt. It's all prompt based. And you put the prompt in and you get a result out. It may not be what you want, but it's something you work with. And so again, it's inevitable. And so the questions that in conversations and dialogue we should be having is not how can we keep it out, but how can we better incorporate it here? And we can throw this one up too. Guardrails, not roadblocks. That's definitely what we're aiming at. And from a creative standpoint, it's helped us and suited us very well. So I'm not sure if there were any other questions that we.
I have a final question for everyone. We'll go around the room. If a teacher was hesitant to use AI and did not want to use it, what would be this your final statement? What would you say to that teacher? So we'll start here with our 8-year-olds.
I think I told them, okay, if you don't like AI, that's fine, but you're missing out on a great opportunity for learning. You can really learn a lot with AI.
Yep. Well,
For if you're doing an assignment, you can ask a question and ask follow-ups. It's a really good database.
what would you say, Kate?
So we did this biography thing about people. If we can't use Perplexity to find information, I have to be here and look for one.
Where's here? Where are we? They don't know.
The library, which you can see, and then
Can't really see the books.
but then there's no book about my biography,
What are you supposed to do?
so I can't get information about it. So that'll be one problem. And also, it's not going to be like I have to buy a book about him. It's going to be kind of annoying, but yeah. So that's something I would say to
Helps you learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Ipsa?
Something I would say to a teacher is AI can help us a lot with what we do at school, and it would really stand out if you used it, and it would help bring people together. In school, we use Perplexity, like Kat said, and Padlet and Canva, and we usually we could share it on Canva, and everyone we can all make something big for someone.
And we bring our ideas to life, right?
Yeah, we bring our ideas to life, and I would say that we should use it in school because it helps us with schoolwork, and we're not leaving anyone out because we use it, and then also it's like Kes
We only have
said, the
1 minute,
biography
so
one.
let's let the big kids. One thing. Go ahead. Around the room. You have 1 minute.
So I think my biggest punchline would be that in order for us to be successful in our lives, in college, in our jobs and everything, we need to learn how to use those skills right now. And we need to learn how to use AI right now for us to be able to use them properly in the future.
Well, I wanted to pop back in. It's time to close out. I really appreciate all of your insights, and I just said in the chat, there's many more presenters this week, but I already know this session is going to be my favorite. So thank you so much for just everything. I definitely want to collaborate with you guys some more. My 15-year-old daughter has been venturing into Rosebud AI and using prompting for code. And I know like she'd probably want to jump in and talk to you guys. She's working on a project right now that she could use some collaboration on.
Thank
you. And thank you so much to everybody in the chat for
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we hope you stick with us. We have our conference kickoff starting. It's supposed to be starting now, but we will get that stream going as soon as I pop out of this one and into the next one. Can't wait to see you there. We're going to go over the schedule and go over basically what the rest of this week holds. So thank you, and we will see you in a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the Premium AI Strategy Accelerator, the ultimate program for schools, colleges and universities and businesses that want to lead in the AI revolution. Before you apply, let me tell you how this program works. Who is this program for? We focus on helping a hand-picked team of 6 to 10 change makers in your organization. And this elite innovation squad will become your internal startup, pioneering AI-driven solutions that define your organization's future.